AITA for dumping my girlfriend after she said she'd leave me for her coworker? Hello, I'm 28 years old. I met my ex, Savannah, through my friend Micah's girlfriend at a house party about 2.5 years ago in Addison, Texas. Savannah was 25 at the time. Honestly, she was out of my league in terms of looks, but we connected talking about travel and music. She seemed genuinely interested in me as a person. She laughed at my terrible dad jokes and didn't make me feel like I was competing with other men for her attention. The first few months were genuinely great, very natural. She was fun, spontaneous, and seemed to sincerely appreciate that I was stable and had my life together. We'd go to movies, try new restaurants in Deep Ellum, catch Rangers games when I could get tickets, just normal couple stuff that didn't break the bank. She even insisted on splitting the bill sometimes in those early months, which I respected, though I usually ended up paying since I earned significantly more. Looking back, with the clarity of hindsight, I can pinpoint the exact moment things changed and her true colors started to show. It was around the 4-month mark, when she came over to my house for the first time and really saw how I lived. Up to that point, most of our dates had been at bars, restaurants, or her small, shared apartment. "Oh my God, you actually own this whole place?" she said, walking through my living room like she was touring a mansion. "This is so much space for just one person." It was nothing impressive. Ashley Home Store furniture I bought when I moved in, a 65-inch Samsung TV I got on Black Friday. Basic appliances, a comfortable but unremarkable couch. But her attitude shifted after that night. She looked at me differently, as if she suddenly saw dollar signs and potential, not just the guy she was dating. Within a couple of weeks of seeing my house and truly understanding my financial situation, Savannah's behavior began to change. At first, it was subtle things, but they became more obvious over time. She started forgetting her wallet more often when we went out to dinner, always with some excuse about leaving it in her other purse or in the car. She started making casual comments about things we should upgrade around the house. A new sectional sofa, a bigger TV for the bedroom, fancier kitchen appliances, things I had zero interest in. She began mentioning expensive restaurants she'd seen on Instagram and weekend getaways to Austin or San Antonio that looked so romantic in her friends' posts. The physical side of the relationship also intensified around this time, which, I'll be honest, clouded my judgment quite a bit. When a beautiful woman becomes more affectionate and tells you how amazing and successful you are while suggesting ways to upgrade your lifestyle together, it's easy to rationalize it as her just wanting to build a future with you, rather than seeing the manipulative tactics for what they were. About 6 months into the relationship, Savannah basically moved into my house without us ever having a real conversation or setting any ground rules. It started innocently, with her leaving some clothes in my closet after staying the night, then bringing over her expensive skincare kit that took up half the bathroom counter. Soon after, she moved in her spoiled Persian cat named Clover. Yes, that was the cat's real name. And yes, it was every bit as pretentious as it sounds. Before I knew it, she was getting mail delivered to my address. She had claimed the spare guest room as her office and was treating my home as her personal headquarters for whatever it was she did all day. The real breaking point came around the 8-month mark when she quit her job with almost no notice. Her excuse was that the commute from my place to downtown was too long and the salary wasn't worth the gas money and the wear and tear on her car. Since I was doing well financially, and she was, in her own way, contributing to the relationship in other areas, I didn't push the issue or demand she find something closer. Looking back, this was probably the single biggest mistake of my life, because it enabled everything that came next. This was when the real Savannah emerged from behind her carefully constructed facade of a sweet, reasonable girlfriend. The girl who used to order a Caesar salad and suggest sharing an appetizer suddenly needed to have the most expensive item on the menu at every restaurant. She started getting bi-weekly manicures for $65 at a high-end salon in Plano. Suddenly, she needed a whole new wardrobe because her old clothes didn't fit her new lifestyle and weren't appropriate for the places we were going now. She began researching cosmetic procedures and talking about getting lip fillers, Botox, and other treatments to maintain her appearance. I was essentially funding a lifestyle that was costing me an extra $1,000 to $2,000 a month, and that's being conservative. My savings, which I had been building for years, took a serious hit, but I kept telling myself it was temporary. She would find another job soon and start contributing again, right? We had talked about her maybe getting into real estate or event planning, careers that seemed to fit her personality and social skills. Wrong on all counts. Every job opportunity that came up was either beneath her experience level, not a good culture fit, or didn't offer enough growth potential. She started calling herself an influencer and content creator because she had about 3,500 followers on Instagram, mostly other basic girls and guys who were probably just hoping to get lucky. Her typical day involved driving around town in my truck, taking pictures of herself in various locations, buying $8 coffees at trendy spots with her equally unemployed friends, all on my credit cards, of course, and binge-watching reality TV shows while eating expensive takeout. The worst part wasn't even the financial drain. It was her sense of entitlement about the whole situation. She acted like she was doing me a massive favor by being with me and gracing my modest suburban home with her presence. She started making comments about how lucky I was to have someone like her, how other guys would kill to be in my shoes, how I should be more appreciative of what she brought to the relationship. It was always said with this sweet smile and innocent tone, but the underlying message was crystal clear. You're punching way above your weight, and you'd better act grateful for the privilege. About 18 months into our relationship, right as I was starting to seriously question whether this was sustainable long-term, Savannah announced she was joining a trendy downtown gym called Elite Fitness. She said she wanted to get into competition shape and needed professional guidance to reach her goals. The gym membership was $150 a month for the premium package, plus another $200 a week for personal training sessions with their top trainer. Naturally, this all went on my credit card, as she had no income and had maxed out her own cards months ago. It was there that she met Marshall, and everything went downhill fast. Marshall was everything I wasn't. He was 6'3" with chiseled muscles. He worked as a personal trainer and part-time fitness model for local supplement companies. He had that hot but broke vibe that seems to work so well on a certain type of woman. He drove a beat-up 2015 Mustang with mismatched paint patches and a loud exhaust. He lived with 3 roommates in a small apartment near the university. He probably made about $2,800 a month if he was lucky and worked full-time. But he looked incredible in a tank top. He had sleeve tattoos that probably cost more than his annual rent and possessed the kind of carefree confidence that comes from never having to worry about paying bills because someone else always has. Savannah's entire personality changed within 2 weeks of starting at that gym. And the changes were so obvious that even my friends, who normally don't notice anything, started commenting. Suddenly, she was passionate about fitness and focused on optimizing her health and wellness. She started working out 6 days a week for 2 to 3 hours at a time, buying new Lululemon and Athleta workout clothes, again, on my cards, premium supplements that cost $200 a month, and special meal prep containers to follow a complicated nutrition plan Marshall had designed specifically for her body type. The most telling thing was that she started taking forever to respond to my texts during the day, always with elaborate excuses about being focused on her mind-muscle connection or being in the zone during her workouts. When she did respond, it was with short one-word answers or simple emojis, a far cry from the long conversations we used to have. Marshall says I need to focus more on compound movements to build functional strength, she'd tell me over dinner, as if I cared what Marshall thought about anything. Marshall thinks I should try this new protein powder formulated specifically for the female metabolism. Marshall showed me this amazing exercise today that targets the exact areas I need to improve to hit my goals. Every conversation somehow ended up revolving around something Marshall had said, suggested, or taught her. When I pointed out that she was mentioning her trainer a lot, she'd roll her eyes and accuse me of being insecure and unsupportive. He's a professional who is helping me reach my fitness goals. Don't you want me to be the best version of myself? This is an investment in my health and our future together. I thought you'd be happy I was taking care of myself. Meanwhile, our intimate life went from frequent and enthusiastic to practically non-existent in the span of a month. She was always too tired from her intense workouts or not feeling confident in her body while she was in the middle of her transformation. But strangely, she had plenty of energy to take gym selfies with Marshall conveniently positioned in the background, posting them with captions like, "Pushing my limits, finding my strength, and becoming my best self," complete with fire emojis and transformation hashtags. Things came to a head on a Friday night, about 3 months after she started training with Marshall. I'd had a brutal week dealing with a commercial construction project. The contractor had discovered foundation issues that were going to set us back weeks and potentially cost the client an extra $80,000. I just wanted to get home, order some food, and relax in front of the TV. Savannah walked in the door from her workout, buzzing with an energy that felt a little too intense for someone who had just exercised. She was still in her expensive, probably $150 workout set, and she had that post-gym glow that looked a little too radiant for someone who had just been lifting weights. "You'll never guess what Marshall told me today," she exclaimed, not bothering to ask how my day was or notice that I was completely drained. "He's been thinking about opening his own fitness studio, like a boutique thing focused on personal transformation and lifestyle coaching. Isn't that amazing?" I was half watching a Rangers game I had been looking forward to all week, making non-committal noises as she talked. The Rangers were down by 2 in the 8th, and I was trying to follow the game while processing her enthusiastic chatter, which apparently wasn't enthusiastic enough for her. "Are you even listening to me? This could be huge for both of us." Marshall has an entrepreneurial mindset. He's not content to work for other people his whole life like some people. He has real vision and ambition. I paused the TV and looked at her. Like who, some people? Nothing. I'm just saying, he has big dreams and a vision for the future. He's not content with being ordinary or settling for mediocrity. He wants to build something meaningful and have a real impact on people's lives. Marshall also splits his rent 4 ways and drives a car that's older than his personal training certificate. Her face flushed with anger instantly. Money isn't everything in life. Some people value passion and purpose over just collecting a paycheck and playing it safe. There's more to life than just comfort and stability. The irony was so thick you could cut it with a knife. This was coming from someone who hadn't earned a single dollar in over a year and spent money like it grew on trees, never once worrying about a budget or consequences, because someone else was shouldering all the financial responsibility. That's easy to say when someone else is funding your entire lifestyle. I replied as calmly as I could. "I contribute to this relationship in ways that are more important than money," she shot back defensively. "It's not all about dollars and cents. I provide emotional support, companionship, and I make this house feel like a home." "Oh yeah? How exactly? By looking pretty?" "Because that's pretty much all you've done lately, besides spending my money on gym memberships, expensive smoothies, and whatever else you can think of." Then she dropped the line that changed everything between us and revealed her true character. "You know what? Maybe I should be with someone who actually appreciates what I bring to the table. Marshall thinks I'm amazing just the way I am. He doesn't make me feel guilty for having standards or wanting nice things. He supports my growth and encourages me to reach my potential instead of trying to hold me back with negativity." "Then go be with Marshall," I said, surprised at how steady and calm my voice sounded despite the rage boiling inside me. She blinked, clearly not expecting that response. She probably thought I would get jealous, argue, or beg her to choose me. Maybe I will. At least he's not boring and negative all the time. He actually supports my dreams. Sounds perfect. You can pack your things tomorrow and start your new life. Her jaw dropped in a mixture of shock and panic. "You're not serious." "Deadly serious. If Marshall is so amazing and supportive, go live with him and his 3 roommates. See how many shopping trips and spa days you get on a personal trainer's salary split 4 ways." That's when the immediate backpedaling began. Suddenly, it was I didn't mean it like that. I was just frustrated about other things, and you know I love you more than anything. But the mask had completely slipped, and I had seen what she really thought of me and our relationship. I was the safe, boring option who paid for everything while she fantasized about the exciting, broke guy. Savannah didn't leave that weekend like I told her to. Instead, she went into full damage control mode, desperately trying to win me back over with displays of affection and make me forget the side of herself she had shown. Suddenly, she was trying to cook dinner every night. Poorly, she burned spaghetti twice and managed to make chicken that was both dry and raw at the same time. She started being physically affectionate again, even initiating intimacy for the first time since she started training with Marshall. But it all felt completely calculated and hollow, like she was checking boxes off a how to manipulate your boyfriend back into compliance list rather than genuinely wanting to be there or fix our relationship. The conversations felt forced, the affection felt like a performance, and I could tell her heart wasn't in it at all. The comments about Marshall stopped for a while, but I knew she was still training with him regularly. She'd come back from the gym with that same kind of energy and glow that seemed too intense for someone who had supposedly just done an hour of cardio and weights. Plus, her workout clothes were always suspiciously unrumpled for someone who had just been sweating for hours. Then came what I now call the business proposal, her final attempt to get me financially entangled in her exit strategy. Marshall has been talking to some potential investors about his fitness studio concept. She mentioned casually one night while we were watching Netflix, pretending everything was fine between us. He just needs about $4,500 in seed capital to get it off the ground. The projections for the return are incredible. I almost choked on my water. And I was thinking, we could invest in it. Get in on the ground floor of something, you know? Marshall said he'd make me a manager, since I have experience. It could be my big career comeback and our chance to build real wealth together. I looked at her in complete disbelief. You want me to give your trainer $4,500 of my money? It's not giving, it's investing. In a legitimate business opportunity with huge potential. Marshall showed me the whole business plan and the financial projections. We could double our money in 18 months, maybe even triple it if things go well. The audacity was breathtaking. This woman actually thought I was stupid enough to fund her side piece's gym so she could play business owner and probably have inappropriate relations with him in the office while pretending it was all about professional development and investment opportunities. That's going to be a hard no from me. Her face fell dramatically, as if I had just crushed her dreams. Why not? You never want to take risks or try new things. This could be life-changing for us. Don't you want to build something bigger? For us? Or for you and Marshall? That's not. You're just being paranoid and jealous again. This is a completely legitimate investment that could secure our future. I thought you'd be excited about the potential. That night, I lay in bed, listening to her scroll on her phone beside me, probably looking at Marshall's Instagram and texting her friends about the situation. And I made a decision that would change everything. I wasn't going to just kick her out or have a big, dramatic confrontation that would give her ammunition to use against me later. I was going to be strategic and let her hang herself with her own rope while protecting my interests. Over the next few weeks, I started making quiet moves behind the scenes to prepare for what I knew was coming. First, I contacted my bank and opened a completely separate checking account at a different branch where my paycheck would start being deposited. I left just enough in our joint account to cover the mortgage, utilities, and basic household expenses, all of which were in my name anyway since Savannah had no credit history or income to qualify for anything. I also started meticulously documenting everything for my own peace of mind and future reference. Screenshots of her spending patterns on my credit cards, pictures of all the expensive items she had accumulated over the months, detailed records of how much I had been funding her lifestyle, down to the last cent. Not for any legal reason, as we weren't married and Texas law was on my side anyway, but for my own clarity on how much this relationship had cost me, both financially and emotionally. Most importantly, I started exploring my options for when Savannah inevitably left to chase her dreams with Marshall. That's when I remembered a coworker mentioning that his sister, Juliet, was looking for a place to live after a messy breakup. Juliet was 26. She worked as a registered nurse at Presbyterian Hospital. She made a good salary, about $6,500 a month, and needed an affordable, stable place to land on her feet emotionally and financially. I reached out, and we met for coffee to discuss the possibility. Juliet was everything Savannah wasn't. Responsible, hardworking, financially independent, and genuinely grateful for the opportunity to rent a room in a nice house for below market rate. She had her own car, her own furniture, her own streaming accounts, and most importantly, her own life and goals that didn't revolve around someone else funding her existence. I pitched the roommate idea to Savannah as a way for us to cut down on household expenses and save more money for our future goals and investments. Her reaction was immediate, dramatic, and very telling of her true priorities. "I don't want some random woman living in our house," she said firmly, crossing her arms. "This is our private space where we're building our relationship. Having a stranger here would completely change the dynamic. Our space, that I pay for entirely. I reminded her calmly. Besides, Juliet works night shifts at the hospital a lot. We'd barely see her. I don't care what her schedule is. I'm not comfortable with another woman living in the same house with us. It's inappropriate, and I won't allow it. Then maybe you should start contributing to the rent and household bills if you want a say in who lives here. That comment shut her up instantly, but I could see the wheels turning in her head as she tried to figure out how to respond without admitting she had zero financial leverage in the situation. I told her I was moving forward with the roommate plan, regardless of her objections. My house, my mortgage, my rules. Juliet moved into the guest room 3 weeks later with her own mini fridge, her own streaming subscriptions, and her own car. She was everything Savannah wasn't and probably never would be. Having Juliet around was like holding a mirror up to Savannah, reflecting her complete and utter uselessness as a partner and a human being. Here was a woman who worked grueling 12-hour shifts, literally saving lives, came home exhausted, and still managed to meal prep her own healthy food, pay all of her bills on time every month, and somehow find the energy to maintain friendships, hobbies, and a positive outlook on life. Juliet would come home from dealing with life-or-death situations at the hospital and still ask me how my day was, offer to help with chores, or just have normal human conversations about current events, movies, or whatever was going on in our lives. Savannah, meanwhile, was treating me like a personal ATM who occasionally provided commentary on her increasingly dramatic existence. Savannah was immediately threatened and started making passive-aggressive comments about how Juliet was clearly a workaholic with no work-life balance who probably didn't even know how to have fun. This was coming from someone whose biggest daily challenge was deciding which trendy coffee shop to take Instagram pictures at, and whose idea of productivity was reorganizing her makeup collection. The contrast became even more apparent in our daily interactions. Juliet would offer to cook for everyone when she had a day off, insisted on buying her own groceries and cleaning supplies, and generally behaved like a responsible adult sharing a space. Savannah, on the other hand, acted as if Juliet's presence was a personal offense and an invasion of her territory. The final breaking point came about a month after Juliet moved in. I was in the kitchen making breakfast before work when Savannah stormed in, visibly upset and ready for a confrontation. "We need to have a serious conversation about your roommate situation," she announced dramatically, as if calling an emergency meeting. "What, exactly, is the situation?" "She's being completely inappropriate with you." "What?" "I found her talking to you about the baseball game last night while she was in her pajamas in our kitchen." I almost laughed out loud at the absurdity. Juliet had been wearing a Rangers t-shirt and gym shorts, casually discussing the playoffs while making some herbal tea after her shift. It was completely professional and respectful. Hardly a scene of seduction by any reasonable standard. She lives here, Savannah. We're allowed to have normal, friendly conversations about everyday things. It's completely disrespectful to me as your girlfriend. She knows you're in a committed relationship, and she's deliberately trying to undermine that by being overly familiar with you. A committed relationship where one person pays for absolutely everything while the other person contributes nothing but complaints and drama. Savannah's face turned bright red with rage. "I contribute plenty to this relationship. I make this place feel like a home and not just a house. I give you emotional support with your stressful job. I make you happy and give you something to look forward to every day." "Really? Because lately, all you do is complain about all the things I'm not giving you, while you go on and on about how amazing Marshall is and how much better your life could be." That's when she said the words that sealed her fate forever and revealed exactly what kind of person she was underneath her pretty facade. "You know what? Maybe Marshall was right about you and this whole situation. Maybe I am too good for this mediocre, suburban life and everything that comes with it. I'm young, I'm beautiful, I'm fun, and I could have literally any man I want. You should be grateful and lucky that I've spent 2 years of my prime dating someone so ordinary and predictable." I nodded slowly, setting down my coffee cup and looking at her with a clarity I probably hadn't felt in months. "You're absolutely right about that." She blinked, confused by my calm tone instead of the angry reaction she was expecting. "You are too good for this mediocre life I'm offering you. You should definitely go find someone who appreciates how young, beautiful, and fun you are. Someone who actually deserves you. What is that supposed to mean? I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app, showing her the current balance of our joint account, $263.42. It means the free ride is officially over. I've been having my paycheck deposited into a separate account for the past few weeks. What's left in there will cover this month's utilities and basic groceries. After that, you're completely on your own, financially. Her face went completely white as the reality sank in. You can't be serious. You're just trying to scare me. Deadly serious. You have until the end of the month to figure out your next move and where you're going to live. I'm sure Marshall will be happy to fund your lifestyle and ambitions on his personal trainer salary. What happened next was like watching a house of cards crumble in slow motion while being hit by a tornado. The tears started immediately. Not the pretty, elegant tears from romance movies, but ugly, desperate, mascara-streaked sobs from someone in genuine panic about her future. The begging came soon after, along with promises to completely change her ways, get a job immediately, and become the girlfriend I deserved and had always wanted. She swore on everything she held sacred that she would quit the gym immediately and never speak to Marshall again. She offered to give up all of her expensive habits and live like a normal person who actually contributed to the relationship. She even suggested we go to couples counseling to work through our communication issues and differing perspectives on finances. But it was far too late for any of that. I had seen who she truly was underneath the beautiful, carefully constructed facade. And more importantly, I had remembered what I was worth as a person and a partner. The spell was completely broken. The next 2 weeks were absolutely miserable for everyone in the house. Savannah alternated between desperately trying to seduce me back into compliance and having complete emotional breakdowns about her uncertain future. She had spent so long living off my income and my credit cards that she had no savings, no recent work experience, no professional references, and absolutely no backup plan to support herself. She tried reaching out to Marshall for emotional and financial support, but apparently, his interest in her was purely physical and professional. When she started hinting that she needed a place to stay and someone to help with expenses, he suddenly became much less available and less responsive to her texts. It turns out personal trainers living with multiple roommates in tiny apartments aren't usually interested in supporting unemployed Instagram models with expensive tastes and no job skills. Juliet, meanwhile, was incredibly gracious about the whole awkward situation. She picked up extra shifts when she could to stay out of the house during Savannah's worst episodes. She never once complained about the drama and even offered to help Savannah look for a job in her spare time. Savannah, of course, was too proud and embarrassed to accept help from someone she considered beneath her. 2.5 weeks after our final confrontation, Savannah finally packed up her designer clothes, her expensive cosmetics, and her collection of gym gear and moved back in with her parents in their modest suburban home in Garland. She left Clover, the cat, behind, claiming she couldn't take care of a pet while she was in transition and reevaluating her career path. Translation: her parents wouldn't let her bring it, and she couldn't afford vet bills, food, or litter on whatever meager income she might eventually make. The Marshall situation imploded spectacularly around the same time. His supposed comprehensive business plan turned out to be a generic template he had downloaded from a sketchy website with fake financial projections and made-up market research. When the gym found out about him trying to get clients and members to invest in his non-existent studio, they fired him on the spot. From what I heard through mutual acquaintances, he ended up working at a commercial gym on the other side of town for minimum wage plus commission, living back at home with his parents, and trying to rebuild his reputation in the fitness world. Savannah attempted a comeback about 3 months later. She showed up at my front door on a Saturday morning, looking considerably less put together than I remembered. Her hair wasn't professionally styled. Her nails were plain and clearly done at home, and she was wearing clothes I recognized from the first few months of our relationship, not the designer pieces she had accumulated. "I made a huge mistake," she said, tears already welling up before I had even finished opening the door. "I was going through something emotionally, and I wasn't thinking clearly about what really mattered. What we had was special and real, and I threw it away for absolutely nothing." I listened politely from the doorway as she gave a clearly rehearsed speech about how she had been lost and confused, testing our relationship because she was scared of how much she loved me and afraid of getting hurt. She said she had gotten a job as a waitress at a chain restaurant, was learning to appreciate the simple things, and was figuring out what's really important in life. She said she had realized that stability and loyalty were infinitely more valuable than excitement and passion. "I'm not the same person I was," she concluded, looking at me with what she probably thought were convincing puppy dog eyes. "I've grown up a lot and learned some hard lessons about what really matters. Can we please just try again? I promise I'll be different this time." By that point, I had been dating Autumn for about 6 weeks. Autumn was a high school teacher. She insisted on splitting the bill when we went out to dinner, drove her own reliable Subaru that she had bought and paid for herself, and thought my modest 3-bedroom house was cozy and comfortable, not inadequate. Autumn worked summer school and tutored on the side to pay for her own vacations, bought her own groceries and personal items, and somehow managed to look amazing without spending hundreds of dollars a month on professional upkeep. Most importantly, Autumn was with me because she actually liked me, not for what I could provide for her financially or materially. She had her own career, goals, and ambitions, and viewed our relationship as a partnership of equals, not a financial arrangement. Savannah's comeback attempt was met with a polite but firm no. I wished her the best. I told her I hoped she had learned something from the experience, and I closed that chapter of my life for good. The most ironic part of the entire story came about 6 months later when I got a text message from Marshall. He was asking if I was interested in personal training sessions. His rates were very competitive, and he needed to build up his client base at his new gym. I replied with a laughing emoji and permanently blocked his number. If you like the stories, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.